Hi everyone, I am Ajmal Elai. I am the founder of AAYAN Management Solutions. Welcome to AAYAN World. Together, let's explore research, evidence, and innovation that inform better decisions and create lasting impact. Let's begin our journey.
Quantitative data moves in rigid, linear patterns to tell you what happened. Qualitative data maps the fluid, organic mechanics of how and why. This solid foundation block represents the epistemological bedrock of qualitative research, social constructivism, and interpretivism. Because human context dictates meaning, you cannot isolate variables from their environment. Therefore, instead of testing a theory top-down, qualitative inquiry uses inductive logic, building theories upward from raw observation. You do not enter the field with a rigid hypothesis to prove or disprove. You enter with a well-calibrated research question, gather observations, and let the framework emerge from the data itself. Qualitative inquiry functions as a specialized toolkit designed to decode the mechanics of human behavior, reaching process-level details that numerical measurements cannot capture. A common misconception in the professional sector is that qualitative research is soft, purely subjective, or easily dismissed as anecdotal evidence. This side-by-side matrix shows the actual architecture of qualitative rigor. Where quantitative researchers engineer for statistical validity, qualitative researchers engineer for trustworthiness. The first standard is credibility, which ensures your findings accurately represent the true human experience of your participants. The second is transferability. Instead of claiming broad statistical generalization across a whole population, you map the specific context so deeply that other researchers can determine if your findings apply to their setting. Next are dependability and confirmability, forcing researchers to audit their own subjective biases and leave a clear, traceable paper trail detailing exactly how every conclusion was reached. These are not abstract concepts. They are strict methodological standards developed and formalized by methodologists like Michael Quinn Patton, John Creswell, and Robert Yin. By following these systematic protocols, researchers ensure that subjective data is transformed into rigorous, defensible evidence that withstands critical peer review. With that epistemological foundation set, we move to the field. Researchers use specific data collection methods, acting as sensors, to build out the pillars of our research stack. This first vertical pillar represents in-depth interviews, or IDIs. This is a one-to-one exploration used to decode complex, deeply personal, or sensitive topics. For example, if you are evaluating a support service for trauma survivors, an IDI allows you to explore an individual's direct, lived experience with that specific program. The trade-off is that you gain incredibly rich detail and the ability to build rapport. However, it is highly time-intensive, and the findings from a small sample size cannot be generalized. The second pillar is the Key Informant Interview, or KAI. Instead of targeting everyday lived experience, KAIs target structural or specialized expertise. You use a KAI to speak with a district health official about how a new policy is implemented on the ground. The limitation here is inherent institutional bias. Officials often provide the authorized perspective rather than the complete reality. The third pillar is the focus group discussion. This central node, surrounded by 6 to 10 participants, is designed specifically to observe group dynamics, consensus building, and how social norms form in real time. A community focus group is an excellent tool for identifying collective barriers to girls' education, but researchers must be skilled facilitators, as dominant voices can easily overpower quieter participants and skew the resulting data. Finally, we have ethnography and participant observation. Notice the researcher in this wide shot, seamlessly integrated into the setting. This method requires deep immersion to observe actual behavior over time, rather than relying on what people self-report in an interview. If you want to know how a village water committee truly functions behind closed doors, you live in the community for months and watch them operate. This approach requires a massive time commitment. Researchers must also constantly guard against observer influence, the tendency for people to change their behavior simply because they know they are being watched. The success of a study depends on selecting the specific collection instrument that aligns with the intended depth and context of the research question. Collecting thousands of pages of interview transcripts and field notes is useless without a structured processing system. This brings us to thematic analysis, where raw text is systematically structured. First is coding. Researchers read through transcripts, tagging phrases with identifiers, like blue for access. Next, those codes are grouped together. By clustering related tags, researchers identify overarching patterns, forming distinct nodes called themes. Scholars like Miles, Huberman, and Saldana establish the rigorous academic standards for this qualitative data analysis. This precise progression from raw transcript to coded theme is the mechanical process that transforms subjective human words into defensible, structured, scientific findings. In the development and social sectors, a crisis frequently occurs when rigid, predefined quantitative metrics fail to measure complex, emergent human change. To solve this, we apply advanced monitoring, evaluation, and learning, or MEL, frameworks. As you see here, these act as the capstone of our qualitative architecture. The first is Most Significant Change, or MSC, a method developed by Rick Davies and Jess Start. MSC is highly participatory. Stakeholders gather many subjective stories of change from the field. Those stories pass through a systematic filter panel, which selects the single most impactful narrative and explains exactly why it matters. This approach captures the vital, unexpected human impacts that rigid numerical indicators are entirely blind to. In highly unpredictable environments, evaluators use outcome harvesting, an approach formalized by Ricardo Wilson Grau. Watch this timeline. Instead of predicting an outcome, researchers work backward. They identify an observed behavior change on the right, like a shift in local government policy, and trace the path backward to see how an intervention on the left contributed to it. The crucial distinction here is assessing rigorous contribution. Outcome harvesting acknowledges that complex change has many variables, avoiding false claims of direct linear attribution. Finally, there is outcome mapping, developed by Sarah Earle and her colleagues. This framework abandons the attempt to measure final grand-scale impact, focusing purely on behavioral shifts. Look at the central program node. Outcome mapping tracks the indirect influence a program has on its direct boundary partners in the first concentric ring, recognizing that a program never has total control over an entire system. These advanced MEL frameworks provide the structural tools necessary to evaluate complex social change in real-world settings, where standard numerical indicators prove insufficient.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who may find it useful. I will see you in the next video.